Hey there, penguin campers. Your friend in the neighborhood, Geeky Penguin Bob here, and today I'm going to share with you something I have been pondering about for some time. As most of you know, I am sort of just starting out in this content creator career thing. I have this podcast on Anchor and other podcast sites called Penguin Thoughts, which you're listening to right now. I also have a YouTube channel where I create videos about various different things, which I wish would grow more than it has, and I've also been trying to live stream on Twitch as well. None of these content spaces have seen much growth, and the question I've been asking myself when it comes to live streaming in particular is whether I should stream on Twitch or YouTube. So, stick around, Penguin Bob fans, as I hash out my thoughts on this to Twitch or not to Twitch, and get to listen to firsthand how this silly penguin thinks things through.
You're listening to Penguin Thoughts. These are the thoughts that penguins are thinking when they were thinking that they were thinking about the thoughts they were thinking when they were thinking them. That is, we think.
So, as I sit here sipping on some flavored ice water, pondering whether or not Twitch or YouTube will be my live streaming platform, I decided to maybe lay out the pros and cons I see it for both platforms in regards to somehow get better growth and more exposure for this little penguin in the content creation space. So, I'm going to break it down by each platform, and hopefully by the end of this podcast, we'll have some sort of direction on where I want to make my content, at least as it relates to live streaming. So, let's start with Twitch. So first, let me hash out Twitch as a live streaming platform. First and foremost, when people on the internet think of live streaming, of course, they tend to think of Twitch above all the rest of the other platforms. So I'm going to break it down to pros and cons. So pros for Twitch: streaming. It is what Twitch does. If you want to live stream cooking up a bunch of fish and ketchup and coffee grounds, or shave a hairless moose, or even watch paint dry, then you definitely can live stream such things pretty easily on Twitch. That brings me to my next pro: ease of use. Ease of starting up a stream on Twitch is less complicated than that of other platforms. You can even just pick up your phone, open up the Twitch app, and go live. Pretty simple. Next, pro: community. The community and growth on Twitch is rather unique, more so than other platforms, and there is kind of a built-in dynamic for connecting and networking to other streamers and other streamers' communities that does feel easier and almost natural to do by just simply being in another streamer's chat and hanging out together. Before you know it, you wind up building up friends and comrades and a community. It's also easier to monetize. The path and metrics or hurdles that a content creator has to reach to get where they can make money while live streaming on Twitch are way easier than that of YouTube's metrics. The next pro is interoperability. And you're thinking, what in the world does that big fancy word mean? It means connectedness or functionality among various different programs and so forth. Most of the streaming software out there for live streaming, like OBS or OBS Streams Labs or other different ones out there, seem to be mainly directed and geared toward the use with streaming on Twitch. Even though that software can be used to stream on other platforms, in this penguin's experience with like plugins and overall support for like OBS, it does seem to appear to be geared primarily toward Twitch live streaming rather than other platforms. Not saying that it can't. It just seems to be kind of leaning into Twitch. So let's talk about some cons about Twitch. Well, the first one that comes to mind is discoverability. This is the ability to be seen on Twitch so people will come to your live stream and watch you, thereby growing your channel's community and growing as a streamer. The problem is that Twitch really does not have much in the way of this. In order to find someone new just starting out on Twitch, you pull up a category, like say the game you want to watch streamed or the content of what you want to watch. Then Twitch gives you a listing of everyone that is live streaming in that category, listed by the amount of current viewers, however, that are watching those live streamers. So if you're streaming and you have 0 viewers or only 1 or 2, then your stream will be listed all the way at the bottom of that listing. And if, for example, that category has 1,000 live streamers in it, just imagine how long and how much time someone has to take and effort to page down just through all those listings to find that new streamer's stream. This can make it very hard for new streamers like myself to get noticed. Next con is community and growth. Streaming communities can be cool and great. Sometimes they, however, can be toxic. This is not surprising since I've learned over the years, anytime dealing with people in any situation, there's always bound to be those who really only want to truly care about themselves, and if they feel they're not getting what they want, or if they've been hurt in the past, then they tend to be rather hurtful. There was a phrase I heard a long time ago from a friend: hurt people hurt people. And for a new streamer starting out, that can be a tough pill to swallow to the already bad thoughts that are already the new streamer struggling with the frustration and disappointment for not growing in the first place. So adding that in can kind of really play into the psyche of the streamer. Another con: large streamers. Now, this is not a slam on large streamers themselves. They have definitely put in the time and effort and earned the status they have and the community they have grown. However, it does sometimes make it hard on a new, smaller streamer starting out. Not everyone can be a Shroud starting out, and it makes sense. Why would a viewer want to go and watch a small new streamer play the same game that they could watch a large streamer play with a larger community to interact with? So it kind of can play against someone starting out. Another con is a bridge. And actually, I think this con kind of applies to Twitch and YouTube both. From my experience with seeing other Twitch streamers and also even YouTube streamers, it is hard to bridge their Twitch community or their YouTube community to that of the other platform to kind of consolidate the content creators' communities. I personally have seen this firsthand. I have a community of people in Second Life. I have a smaller community of followers on YouTube and a very small community of followers on Twitch, and even a smaller following on Anchor, this very podcast. Even though I tell each platform about my other communities, there still seems to be somewhat of a disconnect and no bridge, or to bridge the gap, so to speak, to tie in all my communities together. That definitely is a major challenge. So now let me hash out YouTube as a live streaming platform. And as I did with Twitch, I'm going to start with the pros. Discoverability. This is the ability basically to be seen on YouTube so people will come to your live stream and watch you, thereby growing your channel's community and growing as a streamer. Now, unlike Twitch, YouTube definitely does a better job at this. They have what's called an algorithm that can help out discoverability. The same algorithm that YouTube uses in the videos being recommended when a viewer goes to their YouTube homepage and to see all those videos suggested, that same algorithm can also be used in live streaming. An honest moment here, though. For me, I still struggle with YouTube's algorithm and finding it hard to get seen. As a matter of fact, as the making of this podcast, I still have only 8 18 subscribers to my YouTube channel, and that number has not changed in several months. However, the ability to get noticed is definitely more likely on YouTube than that of Twitch, provided I can figure out how to use the algorithm to do so. The next pro is community and growth. The ability on YouTube to grow a community, I feel, seems to be rooted in YouTube itself, and is one of the reasons the YouTube algorithm actually exists in the first place, to help anyone who comes to YouTube to discover new videos and content to watch, and be it recommended by the viewer to the viewer by that algorithm. And in turn, it can also help the content creator to have a tool to build a community and grow their respective channels and content creation of any kind, be it in videos or in live streaming. Once again, provided you're not some silly little penguin who is having issues understanding that algorithm. Maybe it's because it's made by humans and not penguins. We definitely do think differently, don't you know? For example, Penguin's Thoughts Insight Moment. When penguins see a square peg and a round hole, instead of realizing that the square peg won't go into the round hole, a penguin just gets out his trusty old rocket launcher and fires it at the round hole and makes it bigger so it can fit the square peg in. There you go. Insight into how a silly penguin thinks. Not sure how that helps him with the YouTube algorithm. However, either way, the tools are there on YouTube to anyone to grow a community. So now let's talk about some of the cons. Streaming is one thing that YouTube does do, but it is still sort of new in that offering. And its primary focus has always been and continues to be that of videos. And from what I've seen, there can be a lot more involved in setting up a stream for YouTube. Which brings me to the next con, ease of use. The ease of use for streaming on YouTube is, in my opinion, not as simple as for that of Twitch. However, I can't imagine getting used to the extra things involved in setting up a live stream for YouTube. Yes, I do believe you can still just pick up your phone and go live in the YouTube app. However, to have that content to be discovered, that's another thing. The content has to invoke the algorithm somehow, otherwise it might not get noticed. So there's more involved for the streamer and things to consider to invoke that algorithm to get more noticed. Another con, though, is it is harder to monetize. The path and metrics are hurdles that a content creator has to reach to get where you can make money while live streaming on YouTube are way more difficult than that of Twitch's metrics, and to me seems to be not as fast to reach those metrics to monetize their channels. Just for example, to even have my YouTube channel have my name of WhataboutBob777 in the URL web link, I have to reach 100 subscribers, which seems to like being an eternity away when I've been stuck at only 18 subscribers for months now. Another con is interoperability. Like I mentioned before in the Twitch part of this podcast, most of the streaming software and streaming services and things that are out there are geared mainly and directed toward live streaming on Twitch, and not so much on YouTube or other platforms. It, however, does not mean that OBS and that other software and stuff like that can't be used to stream on YouTube. Just from my experience, the support is far more lacking out there, and that could be due to the fact that maybe live streaming on YouTube is still somewhat in its infancy and a new offering on that platform.
You're listening to Penguin Thoughts. These are the thoughts that penguins are thinking when they were thinking that they were thinking about the thoughts they were thinking when they were thinking them. That is, we think.
So let's wrap up my thoughts here. So glad to see you stuck it through all this silly penguins hashing out of a decision where to live stream at. And I'll be honest with you, still at this point, after thinking and mulling over all this stuff, I'm still not really sure which platform I am leaning toward. I do, however, would love to hear your thoughts on what you think should be the platform you would love to see this little penguin stream live on. I am a variety streamer, and I play various different games, some even in Linux, so I am a Linux gamer, and I even like to stream things about tech and especially about Linux, like showing new flavors of Linux when they come out. Now, just gotta decide what platform to live stream on. Decisions. Why couldn't this be as easy as trying to decide what fish I'm going to choose to whack someone with? Sturgeon, salmon, tilapia, and don't forget to add the tartar sauce. Anyway, I hope this further continues to give you insight to how this silly little geeky penguin thinks. And hopefully, I hope you found this podcast rather informative and helpful should you decide maybe in the future you ever want to live stream as well. Anywho, I hope you decide to come back and listen to more of my podcasts and listen to a silly penguin named WhataboutBob share his thoughts. And if you're so inclined, as you may have guessed it from this podcast already, I do have a YouTube channel where I make rather silly videos and other stuff that's silly sometimes. Plus, I do have other social media sites which are all linked on my Anchor podcast page. And I would be tickled pink. No, not paint this penguin pink. Yuck. I'm a penguin, not a Barbie doll. But I would be tickled pink and greatly honored if you would come and visit any of my content sites, be it YouTube, Twitch, Anchor, Twitter, Instagram, or even Discord. And if you like my content there, I would hope you would please think about at least liking and maybe even subscribing. And who knows, maybe even get me off the 18 subscribers count on YouTube. Lol. Anyway, as always, I'm the crazy and silly penguin named WhataboutBob, and I'm out the window because the door is shut. Catch you later, peeps.